Why is it so difficult to acknowledge that sometimes shit happens? A man named Philando Castile was shot by a police officer during a routine traffic stop last year. According to Diamond Reynolds, Philando's girlfriend, he was asked for his license and registration, and when Philando informed the officer that he had a conceal and carry as well as a pistol, he began reaching for his ID. This is when Officer Geronimo Yanez unloaded 7 rounds into Castile. From here, the girlfriend begins to livestream the incident onto Facebook, which immediately went viral. Castile would die at the hospital about 20 minutes after the shooting. As sad as this is, I would like to point out 2 things that I think are important in understanding this event for the tragedy that it really is. First, I would like to mention that the victim was honest and willingful to notify the officer that he was armed. Telling a police officer that you have a gun as you are reaching for an ID could be interpreted, however, as a red flag. This officer jumped the gun, no pun intended. Second is the officer himself. The fact that he discharged 7 rounds indicates that the officer was in fear of his life. One of the things I remember reading a while back was that rapid, continuous shots are signs of overwhelming stress. Listen to his voice in this clip here, which is part of the larger clip that was live streamed to Facebook, and you can clearly hear in his tone that he didn't enjoy the interaction. It sounds like he is crying, in fact.
We got pulled over on Larpener.
I told him not to reach for it. I told him to get his hand out.
So ask yourself, did the tone of that officer sound like someone who was asserting his racial dominance? I mean, he was Mexican, right? But in all seriousness, the tragedy of an innocent man getting shot is something I would not dispute. However, professional race baiters, on the other hand, immediately took to social media to use this shooting as a way of showing the world the apparent race war that's out there. As they say, persons of color are hunted down in the streets, don't you know? Did you know that in America, black people are targeted and hunted down by police in the streets? Imagine my surprise when the officer was acquitted of all charges. I certainly don't think that he should be charged with murder or manslaughter, but he should probably not be on the police force anymore. However, with events like this one, once you become an infamous cop, you can't really get work elsewhere. As tricky as things can be, I think it would be more appropriate to give this officer a rape whistle. Instead, maybe a taser, if he must remain on the force at least. Whatever your belief, I would hope that you aren't the type of person to voice your political outrage by starting up a protest across a main highway, blocking off emergency vehicles and regular-ass people just trying to go home. This type of protest pisses off more people than it generates awareness to. I-94 in St. Paul between Lexington Avenue and Marion Street has been blocked off entirely by an estimated group of 2,000 people. My favorite Malcolm X, Tariq Nasheed, tweeted out, "This is how race soldiers posing as cops are dressed in St. Paul tonight around I-94. They are waging a race war against black citizens." So I'm going to put up some images of the protest, and you let me know if, in the comment section, if you think that's an accurate assessment from Tariq Nasheed. And this is the problem I have with people like him. Sometimes a man dies and it isn't always politically motivated or racially motivated. This man was not hunted down. This man was not chased. This man was a victim of a shitty situation that only barely could have gotten worse. Yet people like Tariq have to insist that Helter Skelter is real. I really don't want to make Charles Manson right. There was no racial motivation behind the shooting of Philando Castile. People attempting to make this a race issue are no better than the people they criticize when something happens on the other side of the aisle. Remember the mentally challenged boy that was kidnapped and tortured on Facebook? They hurled racist insults at him as well, so it actually was racialized. Don't worry though, people like Don Lemon and Simone Sanders, both are CNN contributors, so you can be sure to trust them. They were there to explain that this was not an evil event. Sometimes kids are just kids. Sure, but some kids are assholes. Look, the point of this video is that not everything is motivated by race. The officer did not shoot Castile because he was black, or because he was threatened because Castile was black. The officer shot because he thought Castile was reaching for a gun. When Castile said, "I have a gun," and reached behind him, I believe the officer immediately thought that he was reaching for a gun, as he was telling him that he was armed. Take this as a reminder. A smart man learns from his mistakes, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. If you have a concealed weapon and you're being approached by police, I would suggest that you be very careful, that you not make any sudden movements, and if you reach for your ID, as you're doing so, don't tell the officer at this point that this is when you have a gun, as you're reaching for it. The series of bad reactions from both men led to an innocent man being dead, so it is something to take very seriously. However, I believe that it is obvious to anyone that the shooting was in no way racially motivated. This incident was a result of a series of bad mistakes on both ends that led to a person getting killed. And it's tragic. Someone lost their son today. 2 people lost their son today. Some people perhaps lost their brother today. It's sad, especially because this man was a person that respected our laws enough that he did have a concealed weapons permit. News of an officer being acquitted of charges of manslaughter is no excuse, no matter what the situation, of going out and blocking a major highway, preventing people from going home, or preventing potential emergency vehicles from reaching their destination. But events like these are used in a lot of cases by people who see these protests as a social gathering, as an event to attend with their friends and sometimes even their children, as they play music and do art and just hang out pretty much. It's strange, but I'm going to leave you with this clip, which I found, and I believe this was at the protest at I-96. So enjoy yourself.
Well, somebody is in front of them right now.